What is up, guys? So I've got something special for you. This is part one of my Darklord double build. It's going to be two different Darklord builds that I've made recently. Both of them are amazing. One of the great things about new Banlist is that because of the way the meta shifted, Super Poly has become a lot stronger in the format, and so Darklords are a lot better because Super Poly is a great card for them to bring out the first Darklord, and then it's also good at destroying pretty much every card in the meta. But this is my first Darklord variant. This version is for going first, and it also takes advantage of another card that came off the list, which is going to be the Rusty, the Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche. That card is amazing. Just gives you 2 free negates earlier. So as you can see, look at this. This is an insane combo already. Just by having that Corobane in my hand and a few other extenders, I get to put a bunch of cards, have 2 interruptions, 2 mages on field, and the Bardiche. I mean, it's quite nuts. I'm against this Eldritch guy, so I'm not even going to let him get that search off of his Ecclesia. So the first thing I'm going to do is just negate that Ecclesia. He pops on my Fog Blades, but I don't really care. So yeah, Ecclesia gets negated. I'm not going to let him extend, but then he still sets 5 and passes. So I mean, that's pretty insane. It looks pretty bad for me, doesn't it? But this guy's not going to survive longer than a turn. You will see. So as we go into it, we see like I try and get a search off. He allows me to get the search off because he needs to activate his traps first. Then I get the contacts. Now I'm just going to pause here. So the first thing that happens is obviously in this situation, he basically activated a DD Crow, his Huaquera as a DD Crow to banish my banishment when I tried to search off Tez. Now I could have changed the Shell, but I chose not to because the thing about Eldritches, they basically have 3 unique interruptions. They've got a DD Crow, they've got a pop, and they've got a negation. They've got a hard negation. After they've done those 3 things, they can't do anything. So the reason why I didn't want to use it is because knowing if you look in my grave, I've got an Ukabak, and I know later on I'm going to want to send my fusion trap just so that I can get that fusion first Darklord on the field later on. So that's why I don't chain Ixchel here to activate banishment again and shuffle it in, because the search isn't that useful. I've already got contact in my hand, as you can see, so I don't actually care. That was really just a bait to force him to do something, and it did work. So you can see here, he's going to banish my banishment. That's going to fizzle. It's not going to matter. I'm going to go for Superbia first, then I'm going to go, and this is the other thing as well, because he destroyed actually, I'm going to go back step as well, just to show you guys exactly what I did here. So first, because he's used his banish already, now I'm free to use Superbia, because again, he's wasted negates. If he knew my deck better, he would have saved that for Superbia, because wherever I target contact, banish that. Now I can't extend that much, but because he's wasted it, now I can use Superbia to bring back Ukabak. So I'm going to bring that back. He's going to try and imperm Superbia, but I definitely want this to go up, and I've got a set trap. So I'm actually going to negate his Eldritch here, just so my Superbia goes through, because it's Ukabak that I really want to come out, and so that's going to waste that card completely. Ukabak's going to send the fusion trap, and now I'm going to bring out the first Darklord. I know he has no interruptions left. He's used everything. I don't know what these two are. I was fairly confident he didn't have the counter trap just because of the way he's played it. If he had played it a bit more like sort of conservatively, then I thought, okay, maybe he has the counter trap as well, but I was pretty sure he didn't have it, so that's why I could go straight into the first Darklord, which is going to be amazing. Now I've brought this out. This is going to let me just keep looping Superbia. Now he's going to pop as well, but it doesn't matter because I get to use his effect, bring out Superbia. Superbia is going to bring out Condemned. And by the way, guys, I haven't normal summoned yet. I haven't actually normal summoned, and yet I've done all of this playthrough his entire board. Going to bring out Morningstar, summon Morningstar, and a lot of people were telling me that Darklord Nurgle was bad, but this is why I think Darklord Nurgle is amazing, because his piercing damage combined with Capricious. If you get Morningstar out with 2 monsters, you can OTK through virtually any board in Darklords, because Nurgle's going to give your Darklords piercing, and Capricious is going to reduce all of their opponent's attacks by huge amounts. So you can see here, I bring out Nurgle and Delight. I'm going to revive another monster so I can get an easy Boral Sword, and then I'm just going to punch straight through his board. I mean, look at that. He wasn't expecting it. Well, he rage quit shortly after this, but he wasn't expecting me to be able to go through this. And as you can see from my first hand, this only took 2 or 3 cards to get that insane board that he couldn't play for. So guys, let me get straight into the build for you. So here we go. Here is the build. So I'm going to start off with 1 Morningstar. Morningstar is important, crucial to any new Darklord build, just because of the first Darklord. Having access to the first Darklord really upgrades the viability of this card, and I definitely would play him in most variants. There are ways you can play without him. You can play sort of a rank 4 and rank 8 focus build instead and not really worry about Morningstar, but I do think he is worth playing, especially if you're playing the fusion, which is just so good. So yeah, I definitely do think you need to have at least one Morningstar. You've got the standard 3 eggshells. Now this is another big difference. So before I was running a high Darklord count in my Darklord invoke builds and stuff, and those builds are good, but the disadvantage you run into is most of the Darklords are bricks in hand. So really I just run one of each Darklord now. I just run one of all the bad ones. Rather than running a bunch of bad cards with the hope that I sort of get all the combo pieces in my hand, it's better to just run one of each of the bad ones and then run other things to extend for you. So I've got the 1 Tez, the 1 Superbia, 1 Nurgle, 1 Naston, 1 Amdusk, and 1 Ukabark. One of each of them. Their effects will come up occasionally, but most of the time they're really just there to be dumped to the graveyard and stuff. Then one of the big changes is now I've chucked in a bunch of dangers into this build. So I've got one of each of the good dangers, just because they're good for extending into Bardiche. Like, that's going to be my goal turn 1, getting Bardiche out. But the biggest change I'd say as well is adding the trick stars. So I've got one of each of dangers, but then I've also got 2 Corobane, 2 Candina, 1 Lilybell, 1 Nightshade, and 1 Trickstar Light Stage. Now the goal is really get condemned out turn 1, because if you can get to condemned turn 1, especially if you have a danger in your hand, that's an instant Bardiche for you. You just discard whatever you want, get a search whatever you want, the danger is going to bring out another card, and then that's 2 negates. Bardiche is an incredible card for this deck, so it's really about getting this out, which is why in my opinion now the Trickstar's a lot better. Before, getting to condemned wasn't relevant, because you get to condemned and then you've just got condemned on the field that doesn't do anything. But now that there's a solid link 3 for dark decks to climb into, I definitely think getting 2 condemned is going to be your win condition when you're going first with Darklords. And as you can see, even against a deck that's got a lot of back row, that hasn't got a lot of monsters to negate, you just have so much interaction, so many pluses off that, because your trick stars in general are going to plus you 1. So things like Candina, Light Stage, Nightshade, they're all going to give you +1s. And then you've got Bardiche, which is also going to give you another +2, because it's going to send a card and you're going to get 2 Fog Blades off it. So it's like you're getting basically +4 in terms of card advantage through this combo, which is what makes it so efficient. Then we move on from that. Then if you look into our spells and traps, I've got a Lure of Darkness, really good spell, just for draw power. Really, I just want to see anything that gets me to that condemned and then gets me into that rusty Bardiche. Then we've got our Darklord spells and traps. So I run 3 contact, 3 banishment, and then I'm running 1 Super Poly in the main. Super Poly is a good spell, but this is a going first variant, which is why I don't run a higher count in the main deck for this variant. It's just not really necessary. It's not going to do the right things for you at the moment. If you see Super Poly in your opening hand going first, you don't really do anything in Darklord. You're just neg trying to bring out first Darklord, which is why I'm only running 1. Got the 1 Monster Reborn, another good spell. And then as for Darklord spells and traps, so I don't play enchantment. Now I've got another build where I did Darklord Grand Marju a few years ago, and I did a similar thing where I didn't run all of the Darklord spells and traps, because the problem with them is that they're quite bricky. You don't want to see them most of the time. So I'm not running Darklord enchantment. And Rebellion was a second edition, but you can actually skip this one as well. You don't need it. The only one I think you need going in your game 1 is Sanctified. Rebellious is good as well if you're playing the fusion variant, obviously, but I'm not counting him so much. I'm talking about the interruption ones. Sanctified is the only one you really need, simply because he's your in-deck out to Dragoon, which is going to be there. It means that you have an easily searchable out to Dragoon in Sanctified, and you also have Super Poly as another out to him, which is really, really good. But then we've also got the 2 Fog Blades. Fog Blades are a really good spell. I'm sorry, a really good trap. It just does everything for your deck. Negates monsters, brings you link material for link climbing later, because it can summon out your Silent Boots or your Bardiche after that. I mean, it's just a really, really good card. And the fact that Bardiche is back, I mean, whew, it's amazing for Darklords. But moving on into the extra deck. So we're going to start off with 1 Trickstar Bloom. Trickstar Bloom is a really, really good monster. So this is part of the combo. You normal summon your Nightshade. This is if you're going through the Nightshade route. You normal summon Nightshade, go into Bloom, and then Bloom go into Condemn Darklord, because when you link someone with Nightshade, it brings out another link material. It brings itself back out, which is amazing. So instant link 2. We have Verte. Verte is for bringing out either our Lucifer or bringing out any of our kind of Super Poly targets. I don't really go into Verte that much, so don't worry, you can skip it. I haven't even got enough money to buy this card. So if you're thinking about buying this card in real life, you don't actually need it. It's just an extra nice to have in the deck. IP Masquerade, on the other hand, is a really, really good card in this deck, because you spit out link material like no man's business. In almost all of my Darklord variants, you'll see me play this card because it's so easy to go into. So I definitely recommend having 1 IP Masquerade. Then we're going to have the 2 Condemned Darklord, amazing card. So again, the reason why we're playing 2 instead of 1 as usual is just because that is really the main point of this deck, is getting into Condemned and then extending from there. Condemned does a lot. It also allows you to search your Morningstar, which is your turn 2, 3, 4. That's what's going to generate you so much advantage when you eventually get out, and it just allow you to win the game straight away. Play 1 Phoenix. So originally I played 2 Lucifer and I didn't play Phoenix, but I actually got rid of it just to play the 1 Phoenix and the 1 Unicorn, because I think they're so important now. We're going into more of a control grindy format. and there's going to be a lot more back row stuff hovering around, so you definitely need to see these cards, because if you don't, you're just going to get sort of wrecked by all of these ridiculous back row cards like White Dragon's Prison and stuff, or whatever it's called. All those ridiculous back row cards will destroy you, so you do need to kind of be able to pop them and get them away before you start extending into your combo. What's great about this build as well is, again, that you've got so many ways to go into Link 2s easily. So getting into a Nightmare Phoenix is very easy. You see Candina, that's a Nightmare Phoenix. You see a Nightshade, that's a Nightmare Phoenix. You see a Danger, that's probably a Nightmare Phoenix. So it's so easily to get into the Nightmare Phoenix, even into the uniform, which is good. And then IP Masquerader can do it as well. Appaloosa, amazing boss monster for Darklords because it's a fairy, which means if you have Appaloosa plus loose spot on the field, well, your opponent is not going to be stopping that Appaloosa with an imperm anytime soon, meaning that you're going to have a 3 or 4 negate Appaloosa that can't be targeted. I mean, what could be better? Boral Sword, I don't play access code because I don't think it's that good for this variant. You don't really, you do link spam, but the link spamming you do isn't really conducive to bringing out access code. And access code can't break through boards as well as Boral Sword, in my opinion, in terms of killing people. It can destroy back row, it can destroy cards, but Boral Sword is really about ending games. As you saw in that replay, I want to be able to kill my opponent before they even realize what's happening, and that's why I play Boral Sword instead. I really think it's great for this deck. You can also bring him out really easily, again, because of your link spam. You've got your Condemn that you can just revive off your Superbia, and then from then, it's an easy Boral Sword. Play 1 Dingy, amazing card. This is just your removal. This is another piece of removal. And it's really about efficiency in this deck. It's about getting whatever you need. Like, I need to be able to break through whatever interruptions they have and just remove everything off the board before I play. So that's why I like Dingy, because he's very generic removal. I can use him to remove back row, I can use him to remove things like Dragoon, I can use him to remove anything. Really like Dingy. And he's also nice to put underneath your Bardiche for obviously that double pop, which is going to be quite good. Then for these slots, now, you don't need to run these Super Poly targets. I happen to run them, but you could get rid of Super Poly completely if you wanted to not run these. They're not bad, but they're just not hugely important in this variant, at least. But yeah, I run 1 Dragon because he's good, Dragstapelia because he's good, Staff of Venom because he's good. Really nothing to say about those, just standard Super Poly targets. And 1 the first Darklord. So I'm only running 1 of him, but that's because I rarely need to. If you've got to the point where you summon more than 1, things aren't going well for you, because his summoning condition is so steep that you generally don't want to be summoning him from the extra deck more than once. After the first time, you want to always be reviving him from your graveyard, because you don't want to commit 3 monsters to 1. That's never good. You'd rather just commit 1 card to summoning him. So that's why I'm only playing 1 extra deck. But once he gets on the field, he's insane. If you resolve his Morningstar pop as well, that's another really good interruption that you have that can just destroy games. I mean, your opponent sets 5s, then you just resolve this. Now they've lost all their cards, they're not doing anything, and you've got a 4k beater to smack them in the face with next turn. Now moving into the extra deck. So my extra deck is really geared around playing this variant. So it's actually quite similar to the part 2 of this build, which you guys need to stay tuned for. But yeah, so we're going to start off with, we've got 3 Condemned Witch, and 2 Forbidden Droplet. Forbidden Droplet is one of the best cards in this format. You need to play it. Simple as. It just negates everything. Extend your play, and Condemned Witch is a really good card for Darklords because she's going to plus for you the next turn. So she's going to plus for you the turn you summon her, and then you're going to bring her out next turn, and probably going to bring out Pleasure with her, which is going to, or Indulge, not Pleasure, sorry about that, but you're going to bring out Indulge with her next turn, and then that's going to get you another plus. So Condemned Witch is a really, really good card, and that's why I like her going second, because it forces your opponent to negate, because then you're going to get Forbidden Droplet. Then you can either link her off if you want to, or you can use her to make your Pleasure or your Indulge, your Capricious or Indulge next turn, and just get pluses that way. You play 2 Nibiru, 2 Phantasme. Those cards are again important because we do have decks that are doing link spamming. We do have decks that are just spamming materials on the board for Nibiru. However, the reason why I don't main deck either of them is just because of Eldritch and Dragon. Both of those decks don't necessarily need to summon that much. But these cards is kind of like, when they're good, they're really good. But when they're not good, they're completely useless, which is why I definitely think they're worth a space in your side deck. Again, shout out to Logic Card Game. He's one who gave me the idea for running 2 of each. Moving on, we play 3 Lightning Storm, just generic removal. Very, very good against both front row and back row. 1 Feather Duster for back row. Again, really nothing special about that. You don't necessarily have to run that card. You can run Twin Twisters or something instead. And 2 more Super Poly in the side deck, again, for dealing with those dark decks and dealing for any combo deck in general. But guys, this is part 1 of my Darklord series. So this is going to be my going first Darklord build. Stay tuned. Tomorrow I'm going to have my Darklord going second build coming out. This deck is amazing, so make sure to try it out, guys. I'll talk to you all later. Peace.